The Magic Man. He's a magic man. Hello and welcome to the next episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies. The podcast where Matt and Todd go to our local Regal Cinema Theater. And then Alright, I'm canceling this. Abracadabra, I want to reach out and grab ya. Hello and welcome to the next episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies, the podcast where Matt and Todd go see a movie at our local Regal Cinema, and then we talk about it afterwards. In Matt's Honda Pilot, we sit and share our thoughts. Should you see this movie? Should you not see this movie? Should you attempt to see this movie in theaters? Should you wait till after the theaters? How did we like it? What's going on in our lives? What are our dreams? All these things may or may not be answered in this podcast. I am Todd Domer.
And I'm Matt Malloy. And yes, we saw a movie about abracadabra, magical stuff. Fantastic Beasts. The Secrets of Dumbledore.
Boom.
Yes. The third in the, at least for now, trilogy of Fantastic Beasts Harry Potter prequel movies. There are a few people in this of note. There are a few people who are not in this of note. We have Jude Law returning as a younger Dumbledore, a younger Albus Dumbledore. And we have other people are in it.
Gotcha.
Yes.
All right. Going down the celebrity list.
Who plays Newt Scamander?
Eddie Redmayne.
Ah, yes. Okay.
And then we've got Ezra Miller reprising his role in this movie. He was the Flash in Justice League, and I would say he's a celebrity at this point, but not for the best reasons. Like he got arrested twice in Hawaii just in this last 2 weeks or whatever, which does not look good on him. Both for disorderly, drunken mess or whatever. And he got arrested again. So he got arrested originally for that. Yes. And then he got arrested again as he was on his way, as I understand the story, to his, not court date or hearing or something. So it's not... I would say probably you may not be seeing him as the Flash anymore. There is a strong possibility that that's going to swing that way.
Yes. And what character did he play in the
He's
movie?
Credence, the
oh, yes. Okay.
The weird... Mm-hmm. I mean, we got Dan Fogler, who I enjoy. Mm-hmm. He's been in a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know if I'd say he's a celebrity, but I enjoy him. And then we've got Mads Mikkelsen, if that's how you say that, who stepped in for Grindelwald since someone couldn't be Grindelwald anymore.
And of course we're talking about Johnny Depp.
Yes.
Who is having a trial where he sues his ex-partner and she simultaneously
suing him,
sues him.
His suit is $50 million. Her suit is $100 million.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I've been loosely following it. It's getting pretty nutty. Which is I feel like I made a prediction about this that I was like, no one's gonna come out of this thing looking good. When you're going in to a courtroom where you're gonna spill all your secrets, all the intimate, good and bad moments of a relationship. It's no one's going to come out looking good.
Right.
And the stories have just been insane. Johnny Depp losing the tip of a finger or something like that. Or the one that I tried to read today, but it got interrupted and I lost it, was something involving poop. Oh. And I was like, okay. But yeah, I would say that I don't know if they'll fire her now because they're like in the middle of filming Aquaman 2, and I think they filmed a lot already, and she is in it. But once this case concludes, unless one of the parties, I don't know which one, is proven to be absolute wrong and the other one is absolute right, this is not going to look good on either of them, I think. So, and she might be out as Mira. And, well, Johnny Depp already had to step down from Fantastic Beasts and Pirates of the Caribbean severed ties with them.
Right.
So that kind of next something to think about next time you're trying to air all your dirty laundry in the public eye, is that no one looks good.
That's true. No one does. Well,
that being said, though, if someone really did do something really horrible to someone else, you should report that and do whatever you're going to do.
Right.
But this one is getting into muddy waters where I think both people did really bad things to each other.
Yeah. They should both be fired. Okay.
And I think that's it as far as people, though.
Yes. There are people in it who were in previous Fantastic Beasts movies, but we don't rate them high enough on our celebrity totem pole to mention them at this time.
Well, yeah, apparently, I mean, that goes for even like I've never seen the second one all the way through, but there's one main character who was a main character in both first and second movies, and in this movie she's just downplayed, like just completely cast aside, and then shows up once.
Right.
And I don't know the story behind that, but
well, if you'd watched the second movie, Todd, maybe you would.
Interesting.
Well, so what is this movie about? All right, so this is the third of these Fantastic Beasts movies, which center around Newt Scamander as sort of the main character, although Albus Dumbledore is on the scene and directing things as he does in these types of movies. And this movie is basically about Grindelwald's rise to power. It's very it's kind of a political piece. Like, they're electing basically the magical equivalent of like the head of the UN, I guess. This person kind of sets the policy for all the different countries, the magical ministries of magic in all the countries. So each country has their own minister of magic, who is like a president. And then this is like called I forget what they call it, the head of the collective or something like that.
Yeah, something.
Anyway, so it's a big deal. It's like a... so there's a lot of kind of, I would say, allusion to American politics with the rise of Donald Trump and kind of his populist rise to power, that goes for kind of Grindelwald's character as well. Very similar kind of parallel ideas between, and his main selling point is he's like, we want power for wizards, we want muggles who have no magic, the rest of us, if you will, to basically serve us and not have any real say in what happens. We want all the power, and we want to control everything, is kind of his platform.
/ kill the muggles.
Yes.
There's some genocide in there too.
Yes, for sure. So this picks up where the last movie ended, maybe a little bit past that, where actually he was captured and, sentenced to be, I don't know. He and a case was being built against him, And in this movie, he's kind of absolved of all that, and then
Runs for office.
rises to power
Yeah.
immediately. So he's doing some shenanigans to try and move into this position of power, and at the same time, Dumbledore and Newt Scamander and a band of merry witches and wizards are trying to stop his machinations against the Muggle world. And there's kind of this dynamic between Dumbledore and Grindelwald where they have they made a blood pact, and you see this in it's in the form of like a physical object, but it basically means that they can't move against each other is how they phrase it. Like they can't directly attack each other, or else this physical little thing will like attack them or something. I wasn't too clear on that, but something like that. So that's why Dumbledore like recruits this group of people to kind of act for him, because he can't directly do it. So I think that is where I'll leave things. I won't get into the twists and turns too much.
Sure.
And so, Todd, what does your magic wand say about this film?
Well, my magic wand says that I feel bad for Harry Potter fans because this movie was not good, in my opinion. And that's coming from a person who's just not really a Harry Potter fan in general. Not that I have anything against Harry Potter. I've seen most of the movies, but not all, and I've never read the books. But I didn't get caught up in the Harry Potter fever. When
you weren't a Potterhead?
Yeah. Nope. And but that's like me not having knowledge or not really caring about the subject matter is not why this movie's bad. This movie's bad because it's just bad. It's bad on different levels. I thought the story was not great and didn't make sense at times. In a sense that a large part of the second movie, if memory serves, is them trying to get this blood oath charm from Grindelwald. And then they succeed in that, and then that's pretty much it. This thing doesn't really come into play a whole lot at all. Like, there's no active trying to, I don't know, absolve it. It's more like they get it, and then they're like, well, can't do anything. Like, and it's just like, And that was kind of like weird.
It's really not clear why they wanted to get this charm.
So I thought it was like, because in the second movie, I thought it was because they needed to destroy it somehow, because then Dumbledore could do stuff. And then this movie kind of starts, and it's like, such a weird throwaway line. It's just like, can't destroy it. We can't do anything. And it's like, I was like, oh, okay. So thanks for that. That's kind of a letdown.
Yeah.
But in general, I mean, there's been things that I didn't like about even the previous movies. I do not like Eddie Redmayne in these movies. This kind of mumbling, low talking, weird guy. I mean, there's nothing to connect with the character to me. And I dislike his portrayal of the character. Not that I know anything about the character to say he should have done this or that. I just watch it and I'm like, this does nothing for me. How you're portraying this character does nothing. The story is just like, I feel like what they try to do here is that, okay, their main plan is that they're all going to do different things that they don't know the other person's doing, because Grindelwald has some like foresight and can kind of see the future. So they're like, the only plan we can have is to not have a plan. Except for, in general, Dumbledore has a plan. So it's like every time they say a line like that, and they're like, you know, the only thing we can do is not have a plan. It's like, no, that's false, because everything that every character did in this movie is because Dumbledore told them to do it. Like, gave them different instructions. So there was a person who was orchestrating everything. And it just kind of created this catch-22 that I couldn't get around. I'm like, all right. And I thought for a movie that was like carrying some serious subject matter like genocide and stuff like that, I don't think the movie was serious enough. Like, it felt like every time suspense and seriousness was building, it was, okay, let's do something whimsically comedic, stupid, like, because I guess we need that, you know, like, and I mean, sometimes that's my knock against Marvel movies, is that, like, sometimes at the most serious, heart-pounding moments, like, where it's a gut punch, they insert jokes. It's like, let me just feel my feelings, like, instead of you trying to manipulate me.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some of that at play here. And, you know, in general, the story didn't make a whole lot of sense. And they hid behind this idea of, like, well, it's not supposed to, because Dumbledore's doing all this. And it's like, I don't know. I don't know who that flies with, but it doesn't fly with me. So,
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta say, honestly, one of the biggest disappointments to me in this movie is that there's no grand confrontation, giant wizard battle. Like, it feels like that's what the movie's building towards. It's building towards this showdown between Dumbledore and Grindelwald. And they kind of have one, but it's like, it's over. It was like super short and very disappointing. There is generally no resolution of this movie. The ending was a huge letdown. And I don't know if that's because they were like, we don't know where we're going with these movies. We don't have anything set up. So maybe we need to extend past this trilogy, because obviously any high up exec is like, we got to keep pumping out Harry Potter movies, because they're kind of like, a bread and butter. People are going to go see them because there's Potterheads out there. This one's having a poor showing because it's just not a good movie. They were just trying to force one out. So, you know, I don't know if they were just trying to protect their future to say, like, we can do more of these movies if we want to. But that's at the expense of the resolution of a trilogy. Like, if you're going to do a trilogy, in general, everything is building up in that trilogy to something. And that doesn't happen here. Like, it's teased, and then it, like, starts something, but then it ends just as fast as it starts. And you're left, I mean, specifically, I was left very disappointed. Like, I just was like, this wasn't worth the 3-movie buildup, like, of what you were trying to do here at all.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, people are going to go see this movie whether I say don't or do, because it's a Harry Potter movie. So it's like all the Potterheads are going to go see it no matter what. But if you're on the outskirts like I am, and you're like, I'm waiting for someone to I don't know, give me the go ahead on this, it's not going to come from me. I left disappointed. The story's not that great. The acting is okay at times. Honestly, the only thing that's interesting about this movie is the relationship between Dumbledore and Grindelwald, and even that's not explored enough for me. Like, it's just kind of here and there at times, but it's not thrown in at all. Like, I could have done probably an entire movie of a young Dumbledore and Grindelwald, just exploring their friendship and relationship and all that kind of stuff. They're falling out. Like, that would be interesting to me, but here we are. So, yeah, there's not many good things I can say. So, I mean, obviously, aesthetically, some of the stuff is very pleasing to the eye. And it is kind of cool to see wizardly magic and stuff like that, but you don't even get that a whole lot. Like, and that, to me, that's one of the reasons why I would come see a movie like this, is like, all right, let's get some spells going. Let's get some duels happening. Let's throw down here.
Yeah.
And that does not happen nearly enough for my satisfaction.
Mm.
So, yeah, this one's not going to get a good rating from me. But, you know, so I'm not going to endorse anyone really seeing this movie, especially in theaters. But I'm sure people will anyway. So, that's me. Matt?
Well, I'm going to pull back the curtain here a little bit, Todd.
Okay.
And I will say that I have watched this movie twice.
Twice?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
So the first time we watched it, which is what my rating will be based on,
Sure.
because that's how we roll, we watched it together, but you had forgotten to bring the recorder that night. So
way to throw me under the
Yes.
bus there.
Well,
It's true, I did.
yes.
And the worst part is that now I live very close to the theater, and I was still kind of like, it's not worth going to get it,
Right.
or we could have just driven to my house and done it, and I was like, you know what? Let's just do
go
it later.
home. So we did not record this that same night that we watched the movie. So we're recording this later. So I had time that I went with my kid and we watched the first two movies in the trilogy on streaming.
Okay.
And then we came to the theater and watched this movie. So we had a little Fantastic Beasts
Fantastic
day.
Beasts marathon.
Yes.
Always like a good marathon.
So I'll have a few things to say that are based on the trilogy watching and less on a gut reaction type thing. My gut reaction is that I really wish that I had watched these other movies beforehand. I had definitely watched one, and number two, I think I'd only watched bits and pieces of it. Like, when we were rewatching that, I was like, I remember that. I remember this. I remember the other thing. But I don't remember this, that, or the third thing. So,
do you think that's the mark of not a great movie? Like that result, or because I think I've seen two as well, all the way through.
Yeah.
But I also can't remember a good amount of it, but I can remember some of it too. So I'm like,
right.
Obviously it did not strike a chord with me then.
Yes. Well, I think that I think the second movie was better than this movie. But yeah, I think this movie suffered from, like, we expect you to know exactly everything and remember as though you just watched the second movie to get the most out of the third movie, which I had not done when we watched it, and so I was a little confused in trying to remember things. You also had the obviously complete change of Grindelwald from the Johnny Depp version to not only a different actor, but a complete physical, like, change. Like, he looks nothing alike.
They did not try at all to say, okay, well, new actor, but we're going to still make you look like Grindelwald.
Right.
They were like, no, we don't have time for that mess.
We don't need to do that. So they didn't. And that could be a little jarring if you're used to albino-eyed, blonde-haired Johnny Depp Grindelwald. You'll get gray streaked hair instead. The story was not good. I would say the only kind of redeeming, like, I do like Harry Potter. I've seen all the movies. I've read all the books.
Okay.
And I will say the kind of interesting thing for people who are invested is just the evolution of the characters from across the three movies, right? It was kind of cool to see what they did with each character. But really to make a whole movie about, like, where are they now is kind of like what this third movie was about. It was like what has happened in the in the life of Newt Scamander since we last saw him, and what is his brother doing, and what is his Muggle friend doing, and how's his Muggle friend's relationship with his witch lover. You just kind of get updated on all that stuff, and that's kind of fun, but it doesn't make for a great movie. It's just like, oh, I'm glad I know what's going on with my friends.
Right. Well, and I would argue that, so the Muggle, Dan Fogler's character, Jacob, right?
Yes.
I would
Kowalski.
almost argue that he's the only one who gets a complete arc through the 3 movies.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas everyone is just like you were saying, let's just check in. Where's this person now? Like, there's an actual arc to his character and his story, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Whereas, especially for Newt, it's like, okay, well, how can we introduce a weird animal into this scene so he can show why he's here? Because that's the only reason I can think of why he's here, is because he knows animals. It's not like he's really good at anything else.
Right. He's the only magical zoologist in the world. So, should you see this movie? If you've watched the other 2, I would say you'll have a better time. I don't know that you should see it. If you've watched the other 2 and you like Harry Potter, you might as well check it out.
Yeah, if you're so pot committed, like if you're so like you've done everything else, then why draw the line here?
Right,
you're gonna see it no matter what.
Right. Just know that it's not the greatest story, and it's not worth it.
It's just not.
It's really
it's
not
not satisfying. Like I like the idea of the build up to this movie. I mean, your take is a lot fresher because you've seen the other 2, but it's just like,
yeah. So I'm gonna leave it there and just say, unless you really feel like you need to complete your set of Harry Potter movie watches, you can probably skip.
Would you say that your gut reaction rating versus a rating if you gave a new one tonight, which one would be higher?
If I gave a new one based on watching the entire trilogy, that one would be higher. I do think that they do walk some nice threads along through all 3 movies that you really pick up on if you're fresh with the other 2 movies. So my rating will be lower than that because it will be my gut reaction rating.
Well, I have some questions when the podcast is over because I can't ask my questions without really going into 1 or 2 things that I was super confused about. But
yes. Fair enough.
Anywho, Matt.
Yes.
How many baby magical calves?
These people were here for like 10 minutes. What were they doing here?
I don't know. Maybe they didn't like the movie options that they had. And they were like, oh, no, maybe they're just going to the car. Oh, I don't know. Now they're searching the car for something. Oh, maybe they thought they left the phone in there or something.
Could be. Sorry.
Okay.
Parking lot shenanigans here.
So many parking lot shenanigans. There's also 2 guys who've been in a conversation in front of the theater the entire time that we've recorded.
Yes. And this is our second podcast that we're recording tonight.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe they found it. They're heading back in.
Okay.
So, how many magical prophesying calves would you give this movie? 0 being the worst, because then you got no magical calves telling you what the future holds, and then 5 being the best, because then you got 5 magical calves that are telling you all kinds of futuristic secrets and stuff like that.
Right. And I wish I could remember the name of the magical prophesying calf
Yeah, I couldn't.
that plays a major role in this movie, but I can't.
Oh, a question though that I feel like is not ruining anything.
Yes.
Is that creature mentioned in any of the other two movies? At all?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. All right. So I'm going to say that this is going to come out as a 1.5 magical prophesying calves out of 5. It's not a good movie, and it was super confusing with having not watched the other ones recently, and it's just a dumb story. So
Yeah.
low rating,
Yeah.
low number of magical prophesying calves. 1.5.
1.5.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm not too far off from you.
Mm-hmm.
And what's a shame about this movie to me is that because I'm not that much of a Harry Potter person or whatever, like this movie really could have just won me over of just having cool wizard battles, like
Yep.
which is like the high point of most of the other movies to me, of just seeing what people can do and spells and if they had delivered in any way close to that for this movie, I feel like I would probably put it more towards the middle of the road. I'd be like, yeah, the story sucked, but look at all these wizards fighting. That was cool to me.
Right.
And that just didn't happen in this movie. There is some stuff, but it's just not satisfying at all. So that's going to plummet my score to a 1.3. Very disappointing. I wish that I had a prophesying calf to tell me not to watch this movie originally. But, you know, we don't live in the Harry Potter world.
We don't live.
We got to learn our lessons and then complain about it on a podcast afterwards.
That's right.
That's how we do it in the Muggle world.
This is a Muggle podcast.
Yeah. Take that, wizards.
Yeah. Take that.
And witches.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to exclude anyone.
Right. I wonder what non-binary wizard witches call themselves.
I mean, I would also argue that in all the Harry Potter movies, we've seen some good, like, you know, I guess semi-powered witches, but everyone who's on an elite level has always been a wizard, a guy.
That's true. Yeah.
What's that about? JK?
What is that about, J.K. Rowling?
Yeah, just because you have weird thoughts about trans people doesn't mean you can't make a powerful woman, like, character who's not a snotty brat like Hermione.
True.
Yeah, I went there.
True. Hermione, snotty brat.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies, where Todd throws Hermione Granger under the bus for being a snotty brat.
I mean, where's the lie? Audience.
Well, I think in her younger years, she had a bit of snottiness to her, but she grew over the years and learned.
I'm not saying she was the most snotty near the end, but I would argue that some of the snottiness was still there.
Yeah, well.
Or maybe I'm thinking of more of a superiority complex.
Oh, well.
I'm better than everyone.
Hermione is better than everybody else, so I think it's well deserved.
Oh, okay.
So.
Someone's a fan.
Always been a Hermione Granger fan. But the movie we talked about tonight, Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore, we gave it an average rating of 1.4 prophesying calves out of 5. That ain't good, people.
No.
That ain't good. Only hardcore Potterheads should watch this movie, and make sure you've watched the other 2 Fantastic Beasts in recent memory, and you've got them well in the memory banks, and that's going to be your best experience.
And also, who knows what the future has for this franchise, because there's a huge merger going on right now between WB and Discovery? Like, they're merging into a company, I thought. And they're blending all their streaming. I mean, maybe I have some of this wrong, but I know that there's something going on at WB where they're either being bought out by another company or they're merging with another company that also does streaming. So with that comes new execs, new people in charge. Who knows what the future has?
Who knows? We don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because we don't have a prophesying cat.
And if we did, we'd only have 1.4. So
right.
How much could that really prophesy?
Right. Well, anyway, we didn't like this movie. Don't watch it unless you fit the categories that we've already established for you to
You
to
can tell
enjoy.
how much we didn't like it or how much we've talked about other things in this podcast.
Yes. But thank you to all listeners for listening and downloading our podcast. Please keep doing that. And we will see you next time.
Da 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 da
Da da
da da da.
da da da.